Hi everybody, this is Leslie from the St. Mary's Public Library. I wanted to share with you a quick little video that I created about current coronavirus scams and how to spot fake news. So the main thing is please stop believing everything that you read on Facebook. Please stop. That is where the majority of the scams and the frauds and all of the false news is coming from. Just because it's on Facebook does not mean it's true. Just because it's on Facebook does not mean it's not true. So since most of us are at home, we have a little more time to look into the news resources before we react to them. So, what fake news is not? Fake news is not something that you just disagree with. It is not an unflattering article on someone you don't like, and it is not news from a different political party. We are going to completely set politics aside for this. I don't care what affiliation you are. Fake news is fake news no matter where it's coming from. So what is fake news? Fake news is inaccurate information. It can be done by accident. It's not always done on purpose, but most of the time it is. It is done to either mislead or play on the emotions of the targeted audience. It has been around since the beginning of print news, but we're seeing it a lot more because of the prevalence of social media. We're capable of sharing news faster to more people than we have ever been before, and everybody is able to share news that they find. We are also seeing news a lot more than we ever did before because we always have our phones and tablets and everything handy. So, how to spot fake news? And this is coming from the International Federation of Library Associations and Institutes. So, to spot fake news, and this goes for anything that you read online, consider the source. You need to investigate the story and the site that it came from. Check the author. Can you do a quick search on the author? Is that person credible? Is it actually a real person? Check the date. So, a lot of the stuff we're seeing, obviously, for the coronavirus is right now, so most of it is current. Check your own biases. Consider whether your own viewpoints are affecting your judgment, which is incredibly hard to do. Read beyond. So headlines can always be misleading, and they usually have something catchy that grabs your attention right away, and it might not actually be what the news article is about. So actually click on the link and read the whole story. Supporting sources. Do they tell you where they get their information from? Do they have links on it? Do the links work? Do they actually support the story being reported? Or are they fake things to make you feel like it's a real source? And is it a joke? There are a lot of satire sites. The most famous one is The Onion. Some of them tell you that they are fake, some don't. So make sure that you are not reading, a fake story and thinking it's true. And then ask the experts. When in doubt, consult a fact-checking site. I prefer Snopes.com. I go to it for almost everything that I read on Facebook. There's also politicalfact.com or factcheck.org. Cross-check your sources. So one of the biggest things, and this goes for even, mainstream media. If you see something on ABC News, is any of the other channels covering it? Can you find it somewhere else? It happens with all of the major news channels. If you see it on CNN, is it being reported on Fox News? Is it being reported on ABC? Is it being reported on MSN? So check other sources to see if it's true. If your first source is a lesser known one, see if a mainstream news sources are reporting the same story. Make sure that the source is an article. Check and see, is it article or is it an opinion piece? If it is an opinion piece, look and see if you can find a news article on the subject too. Check the sources mentioned in opinion pieces to ensure that they are reliable. You want to make sure that it's not biased, and we're going to get into that in a second. So, is it reported in a print source as well, like a newspaper? Make sure that you are seeing that it's not just somebody on a blog in their basement, spouting their own personal opinion. We want it from somebody who knows what they're talking about. Know your bias. So this chart, nothing wrong with any of the sources. You want to try to stay as mainstream as non-politically biased as you possibly can. You can skew either way a little bit as long as it stays, like a reputable source. But if you're seeing somebody on the fringes there, Natural News, US Uncut, The Blaze, InfoWars, these sites are not as reliable. You can be biased and give reliable information. I want to make that clear. You can, swing way left, swing way right, and still give accurate information. But check other sites to make sure that it's not just, kind of slandering somebody. Somebody's doing an awful job just because you hate their political views. Let's keep politics out of this. So check the URL. So down at the bottom here, it kind of looks like a real site, but if you check the URL on it, abcnews.com.co, so anything after the .com or anything even before it, if it looks a little off, if it doesn't look like the real site, it's probably a fake link. So some of the coronavirus things going around is a lot of people have been getting text messages saying that, this is being shut down, this place is being in quarantine. You're going to be receiving a check from the president for $2,000. Check text messages, especially if it looks like, FYI from a friend or a friend of a friend. Don't believe everything that people are sending on. A lot of times people don't check to see if it's true before they forward it. So that is your responsibility before you send that information on. Check a reliable news source to see if it's true. And then another text, so that within 72 hours, the president will evoke what is called the Stanford Act. Just got off the phone, blah, blah, blah. Again, please check where this information is coming from. Anytime you ever see something like, I saw this on a friend's news feed, check and see if it came from an actual place. There are, the U.S. government will not be sending you a text message. And please, 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 if you get either a text message, an email, a phone call from somebody asking for your social security number, never, never, ever, never, ever give out your social security number. Nobody will be asking you for your social security number that is contacting you to give you help for the coronavirus. Don't believe that people are sending out testing kits. Do not send anybody your bank account information to pay $200 for your own personal test or your own personal emergency kit. These are all fake. Do not do that. Do not send anybody a wire transfer. Don't give them access to your bank account. Don't give them your social security number. When something happens and they start putting out the actual relief, it'll come across all of the major news networks first. Don't believe somebody, especially knocking on your door. Do not answer to somebody knocking on your door saying that they have the emergency kit or they're taking down your information. There are a lot of magical cures going around. Don't believe any of those. If somebody has this elixir that will automatically solve it, guess what? It's not going to happen. If our brightest scientists, the smartest people in our country, in China, in the UK, if all of these people are working for a cure and they're saying it's going to take, weeks to months to come out, Joe Schmo down the street with his magical elixir cure is not going to have found the cure within, a week. This one was the one that actually made me launch this little thing. Drinking plenty of water and gargling with warm water and salt water will not eliminate the virus. It does not live in your throat. It does not live in your mouth. Gargling with salt water will not help you. Not to say that, gargling with salt water isn't a bad idea. If you have a cold, it is good. It doesn't hurt. Drinking plenty of water is always good for you, but it's not going to prevent you from getting sick if you actually are in contact with somebody who has the disease. Okay, so then besides fake news, there is also misleading news. So an unexpected side effect of the pandemic, the waters flowing through the canals of Venice is clear for the first time in forever. Fish are visible, swans have returned. I've seen videos of dolphins in the canals. That's, it's misleading. It's because there's no boat traffic. So if you have somebody in a motorboat going up and down the canals or any river, wildlife is not going to be swimming along right beside you. So while it might be somewhat true, it has nothing to do with the pollution coming from the boats. It has to do with them, they're clear because people aren't stirring up the sediment at the bottom of them. So while something could be somewhat true, take everything with a side of skepticism, please. So since I'm big on sources, these are where I got my information. I got it real quick. We had done a fake news display at the library, I want to say probably 2-3 years ago, when fake news really started to, that vocab word started to pop up over the place. And that's where I got that bias. Let me go back. Sorry if I'm making anybody dizzy. But that's where I originally found this little thing. Again, nothing wrong with a lot of these news sources. Try to stick mainstream. The main thing is leave your own personal bias out of it. It doesn't matter if you agree politically with the Republicans or the Democrats. That's not what any of this is about. Please try to keep an open mind about anything coming from either sides. I think it's wonderful how well the government is actually working together for once. But again, if you see something on a site and it's not being covered anywhere else, it's probably because it's not true, or a big chunk of it isn't true. Just cross-check your sources. We have the time. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to contact me at the library. If anything else crops up and I think you guys need to know about it, I do have something on staying safe in general online. I might do that next week. We did it for our Techie Tuesdays, which if you don't know, when we are open, every Tuesday at 1 o'clock, we do a little tech program. A lot of times it's bring your own device help, but sometimes it's something like this where we have a slideshow presentation. So I might do that later next week. And then something just in general about doing research online. We teach it to the kids a lot, but it's not something we do too much with the adults. So I hope you guys got a little bit of something out of this. But please, please, if you're seeing stuff on social media, before you share it, please check where it's coming from. Also, when you randomly share stuff on Facebook, I don't know if you know, but not a lot of times, I don't want to say that. Let me rephrase that. Some of the time, when you share something and somebody clicks on that link and opens it, there's a virus attached to it. So that's something you always need to be careful of if you're sharing from a person you've never seen before, or if it's a news source that you haven't heard of. Don't just randomly share stuff because you might end up hurting a lot of people. So thanks for your time. Have a wonderful day.